Holger Rune is a Masters 1000 champion, and Caroline Garcia is our Tour Finals champion. Welcome to episode, I believe this is episode 9?
9, yep.
Of the Bagels and Breadsticks podcast. As always, I'm Richard.
I am Logan.
And man, do we have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Oh boy. We're going to start off with the big shock of the week. Holger Rune defeats Novak Djokovic in the finals in Paris.
And dear Lord,
what a
week.
We
not see that coming?
What a week for him.
Last podcast we recorded just before this game, and then it was the craziest thing, us messaging back and forth.
Yeah,
we were just like.
I would like to say we did make a slight mistake last week.
We did,
which
about a calculation error.
Later on, it was revealed that Taylor Fritz did qualify. It didn't matter that Rune won in Paris, but I watched part of that match, and just to break down, at least for me, what I saw, kind of, the one big thing that I saw from Rune that is such a masterclass when you play someone like Novak. And I think we mentioned it last week. It's he kept the points short, and he was aggressive. He went.
We did talk about this.
He came in. He closed out points. With someone like Novak, I remember we mentioned like you can't out rally, you can't outlast Novak, and so to beat him, you need to keep those points short. You need to be really, really aggressive. And we were seeing him come up to net all the time, trying to finish points as much as possible. He risked a lot. Did he lose a lot of points off of risk? Sure. But it paid out for him in the end, and that was a wild moment to watch live. I don't know, just something about Holger Rune. And I think a big thing to realize that he started this year outside of the top 100, and he will end this year as somebody in the top 10 in the world. That's crazy.
I know, that's insane. This is his biggest tournament win ever. Yeah. And in doing so, he climbed such a very difficult ladder.
Yeah.
And we talked sort of more expansively about his journey through Paris last week, but it's just incredible to sort of look at this from the summative standpoint of everywhere he's come.
Well, he defeated 5 top 10 opponents back to back on his way to his win. He ends Novak's 13-match win streak. And with this win and with this move up in the rankings, he will be the first, he was the first alternate for the Tour Finals had someone had to drop out. But he will, at least to my knowledge, be competing at the next-gen finals in Milan. I believe, I just wanted to make sure if those, I believe those draws are out. So, is this, what,
yeah.
It's all right. I
was about to say.
But no, I think just such a really strong, really good showing for him, and this is really good to see out of a 19-year-old. Like, it's really promising to see where things could go, especially for him, and he played so well. Honestly, like, it was so impressive the whole time.
What is it with players younger than us? Just
I don't know.
Extremely well this
younger
year.
than you.
Younger than stop.
Younger than you.
Yeah.
Same grade, but Logan is older than me by quite a bit.
Yes, I am 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It's crazy that our birthdays we realized last week that our birthdays are a week apart,
which is crazy.
But moving outside of us, moving on, we do have the draws. Staying with the ATP, we have the draws for the ATP Tour Finals. First reactions, what do we think? I mean, I'm super happy.
You opened this and you freaked out. you were very excited. But then, yes.
I don't know how I feel about Felix and Novak in separate groups. I was hoping that they would be, our final, because I really would have loved that. But it is completely possible if they both come out on top of their groups, and honestly speaking, I can see that happening here.
I totally can.
But let's recap. So in the green group, we have Rafa, Casper Ruud, Felix, and Taylor Fritz.
And then the red group.
First reactions on the green group first.
The green group, it's a good bunch, but I feel like Two of the players are really we're going to see, I think, how they perform the rest of the tournament. And then we were kind of talking about this last week based on how their first games go, Casper Ruud and Taylor Fritz. I'm not entirely sure how they're going to do. I hope they do well. I want to see them do well, but I need some proof first. And Nadal playing on hard court at this point in his career, and I think Felix sticks out to me as sort of this player that has the potential to come out on top of that particular group.
Yeah. I think when you look at that first group, the only player with real momentum coming in is Felix, and I think that's going to give him a big leg up. I mean, we mentioned last week, we'll get to the WTA Tour Finals because that was shocking in a lot of ways.
That's to come.
But the thing is that we talk, and I still firmly believe this, is that, like, when you go to the Tour Finals, we mentioned last week, there's no warm-up. Nope. You're going in,
and it's
in
best
cold. There's
of
three. Exactly. There's no, like, I can use this first match to warm up. No, because you're coming in, playing against top guys. There's no playing against somebody outside of the top 50. You're going right in with 7 of the other best in the world, and you have to perform at the highest level right away. So that lack of practice makes we mentioned last week. There's so much emphasis on the tournaments leading up because of that lack of warm up per se.
And there's also something to be said about the historical experience of the players in this particular group. Fritz, Felix, and Ruud have not been to an ATP Finals before, so it's very interesting to kind of look at the standpoint that they're going to be playing each other both for the first time, right? Depending on and I think that's going to be beneficial for them because it's like a psychological game too, and sort of being able to tackle these first couple of games with people who are also experiencing it for the first time. I think that's going to be valuable to give them that leg up, especially since even though Nadal's been here before, I feel like you share my opinion in that we aren't super 100%
on Rafa.
Rafa. But I think I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens with this group, and I think that we're gonna see some good matches from this group.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think just because it's going to be so interesting to see how they do right off the jump. That first match, that momentum is going to carry so heavily into what happens moving forward. If Taylor or Casper win their first match, I can definitely see them using that momentum and riding it. I mean, Taylor is going up against Rafa Nadal, somebody who he almost beat.
Yeah, in a fantastic game.
It's always possible, And then when you look, I mean, Casper's playing against Felix. That's, in my opinion, honestly, I think that's a tougher opponent at the moment. We mentioned it looking at how well he's done. So
I think if Casper wants to beat Felix, he has to, I think, get more on top of Felix's shots. Because I think that it all kind of comes down to how he attacks the ball.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But let's look on to the red group.
Yes, which has Stefanos Tsitsipas, Daniil Medvedev, Andrei Rublev, and Djokovic. Wow. That's such a fun little group.
That's a fun group, in my opinion. I think that's going to be super, super entertaining again. I'm really happy with the way these groups kind of lined out. I will say, though, the red group, like, momentum-wise,
lots of repeats.
Momentum-wise, I feel like the red group could be more competitive, potentially.
You think so?
I think so. Tsitsipas and Djokovic both did really well in Paris, semifinals and finals. Rublev and Medvedev maybe have a little bit more halted momentum, but I also have a bit more.
Also won like a few.
They've also had
titles
before Paris. They still have like some more momentum from the past weeks with an S at the end compared to Casper or Fritz or Rafa. So I'm curious to see how this group pans out. But who do we think are going to be the 4 guys that come out of the groups? I think in the green group, I'm going to throw Felix. And I'm going to throw in... I mean, I think Felix will come out either whether that be the top or second. But I mean, if he plays the way he's been playing recently, I don't think that there's any doubt in my mind that he will definitely get out of this group. Dare I say, this could just be hope, but I could see Taylor Fritz come out of this group. Yeah, I can see it happening. Really? Again, in my opinion, if he gets this first win against Rafa, that he could take that momentum and really run with it. With that said, though, the same could go for either of those two guys, but I also think Rafa's experience will help him out. He definitely will. It's my thing with Rafa is, for him to get out of this group, it's going to be about how he handles everything physically. Yeah. Can he stay fit? Can he stay in shape? Can he continue his form throughout? It'll be fun if he gets the win over Taylor, but will he be able to continue that over the rest of the tournament is my question.
Yeah, because I think when you asked that question, my mind first went to Felix coming out, and also Nadal, because I think I want to see good performances from Ruud and Fritz, but I need to see it to believe it, I think. Yeah. And at least from like a historical standpoint, I know that Nadal can and has, done very well in this tournament. And, I don't want to say that because of all the doubts that we have that I think he's going to do poorly, because that's not true at all. But
I mean, we don't think any of these guys are going to do necessarily poorly. Yeah. I mean, it's the Tour Finals for a reason.
I think he could pull something out on us and finish second.
Looking at the red group now, I think it's going to be a very obvious answer. I think Novak comes out of this group.
I agree.
I'm gonna put that second onto. Again, it's hard because it's kind of it's sort of easy to kind of pull one person out, but I'm going to throw my second on.
He's smiling right now. He's thinking.
The Greek freak of tennis.
Stop.
Stefanos Tsitsipas. I'm gonna put on him. I have hope. I have faith. He just can't hold back. It's good. It's a really, really tough draw for Rublev because he's standing with three guys, the only three in this field that have won this event are all in that group with Andrei Rublev.
I'm nervous for him.
Here's the thing. I know Rublev could 100% move out of this group, but I think it's gonna be really tough for him. It's a really tall task for him to complete.
It is.
Rublev just needs to let it all out there and really use his weapons. He knows what they are. He knows how to utilize them best. Yeah. But I think it's too high of an order. Not to say that he can. I 100% would not be surprised if he made it out. But my prediction genuinely would not be for him. With Medvedev and Tsitsipas, you have two guys who have won this event, but I'm going to go off of momentum. Medvedev has been playing great recently, but I'm going to put it, again, on momentum, and I'm going to pull my name onto Stefanos Tsitsipas. He's been playing really well. He knows what it takes to win this event. He's done really, really well here before. And he knows that he needs to chuck everything out there. Yeah. He needs to leave every last bit of himself out on that court, and he knows he can. He's been improving over the last few weeks, whereas Medvedev played well and then kind of dropped it off last week. And I don't know, and things we know Medvedev can be a bit of a mental player, and so we know, and so we all know that one loss. You never know what that could have done to him. He looked pretty frustrated.
Oh yeah, he did.
But with that, I'm gonna put on Novak and Stefanos.
No, I was thinking Stefanos in my head, and I was like, no, that's blasphemy. But I mean. But I can't put my money on Medvedev or Rublev for those reasons. Climbing the ladder for Rublev and Medvedev, whatever is going on through his head right now, and also Paris. I mean, I just agree. It's I don't know. I'm excited that I kind of have this vague faith in Tsitsipas. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the first match right off the bat is Stefanos and Novak, and then Medvedev and Rublev. I think whoever comes out of that all-Russian matchup is going to be the contender to move out. Because, again, momentum. we know how much that first match can really play in.
Yeah.
Because it puts you in a good mental state and understanding that you can really do some real heavy damage at the finals. And I think whoever comes out, whether that be Daniel or Andre, I think whoever wins that match will be a solid contender. But I put my prediction on Novak, Tsitsipas, and then Felix. And I'm going to say Taylor Fritz out of sheer hope.
Okay.
I'm going to say Taylor Fritz out of sheer hope.
We're hopeful this week.
I'm very hopeful this week. You know what? I was hopeful last week, and guess what? That hope did not serve me well. And with that, welcome to the WTA Tour Finals. Oh my gosh.
It wasn't just hope. It was calculated expectation.
I have to say it right now.
It was calculated expectation.
So insanely impressed. I will say, we
were extremely confident.
We did say Caroline Garcia could win this, but
we did.
Boy, we did not say Sabalenka, and I'm so impressed with what she did.
Yeah, dear Lord.
She handed Iga her, I believe that's either 8th or 9th loss of the year.
I think it's 9th.
And yeah, and it's so hard to beat someone who was as dominant as Iga was in the first 3 rounds. Went 3-0. Coco Gauff, which now we can definitively say it. The Americans went 0-9, as in Coco and Jessie Pegula.
Womp womp.
Lost every single match, and very sad to say, really underwhelmed our expectations.
That is very sad. That is very sad. We were hyping them up like so much.
We
earlier.
were, but
to be fair, it's their first.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Let's get to the happy news, though.
Yes.
I mean, Caroline Garcia.
Wow.
Played phenomenally.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think is so cool about Garcia is that, if you asked us at the beginning of the year, was Caroline Garcia going to do everything that she did? It's been an amazing past 6 months for her because,
it has.
I mean, really, she started to come into her own in that second half of the season. And when she came out swinging. There was no stopping what she did. She was so good.
No, she was phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, her only loss this entire tournament was to Iga in the group stage. She made the round of 16 in Guadalajara. Maybe not the best showing, but she did make it all the way to semifinals of the U.S. Open, where she lost to Ons Jabeur, who eventually lost to Iga in the finals. Mm-hmm. She won the 1,000 in Cincinnati, which was a huge win for her. She won in Warsaw, and I believe she also won one more. She won in Bad Homburg, the WTA 250 there. It's been a really, really awesome past 6 months for her, and I'm excited to see where she goes with this next year.
Oh yeah, no. I was just thinking that, seeing kind of where she starts off, coming off of this WTA Finals win in the successful year, kind of how that affects where she lands and goes around next year.
Yeah,
I think I'm excited. I'm excited for her.
Yeah, I think the 250 in Bad Homburg and the 250 in Warsaw really helped with her overall confidence, especially getting that win over Iga in enemy territory.
In the final. Was it the final?
No, that was the quarterfinal.
That was the quarterfinal.
And then going on to Cincinnati, that absolute insane run all the way, took out some really, really heavy names with Sakari, Pegula, Sabalenka, and then Kvitova in the final. Mm-hmm. It's been a really, really great year for her. She will end, I believe, at number 4. But we can announce officially that Iga Swiatek will end as your year-end world number 1.
Yes, she will.
For the first time. Definitely not the last.
No. No.
Such a dominant year for her, and I think I don't want to go too far into it because we need to leave something for our year in review. But
yes,
what do we think? I mean, we can reiterate it again in another episode. But what do we think we're gonna see from her next year? Will we see the same level? Will we see something similar? Maybe not.
I think so, strictly because she's been so just wonderfully consistent at performing at this high level from this last year, where she was just kind of thrown out into this spot you know, and she dealt with it in this like very like I don't know, constructive way, and she sort of has come out on top of all of this having like 4,000 or was it 6,000? It was an insane amount of points, you know, like higher than like everyone
6,000.
6,000 points higher than Ons Jabeur number 2. That's what consistency and high performance gives you. And I think there's no reason for her to slack after this year's performance. I believe in her consistency.
I'm gonna leave my Grand Slam predictions for a later episode, but I see a really, really good year for her looking ahead.
I do too.
Again, knocking on wood. All right. So, a big announcement came a while ago.
Yes.
And I only briefed Logan on this, but we have a new thing called the United Tour. The United Tour will replace the ATP Cup.
Yes.
It's going to run from December 29th to January 8th.
Okay. That's an interesting time for that to be held.
So, a total of 18 teams, 18 countries.
Okay.
6 countries will qualify based on their top male player. 6 countries will qualify based on their top female player.
Okay.
And 6 countries will qualify for the combined rankings of their top men's and women's player.
Interesting.
But one of those combined nations will be Australia because that's who's hosting it. So for example, Spain will qualify for Carlos Alcaraz at number 1. I believe he's still at number 1. And Poland will qualify for Iga Świątek. Let's say Iga was like number 8, not in that top 6. Then between her and Hurkacz ranked at 11, they would probably make it for the combined teams. If that makes sense?
That makes sense, yeah.
Each team will have 3 or 4 players from both the ATP and WTA.
Okay.
There will be 3 groups of 6 countries. And this is where things get interesting. There is a prize of $15 million for the team.
Okay.
And 500 points.
500
For the
points.
first time, a country versus country event will have points offered. Hopman Cup didn't offer points.
No.
The ATP Cup
No, it
did
did
not offer points. So how do we feel about what's going on here?
That's very interesting. How do the points get divided? Do you know?
I don't know. I think everyone I think everyone
receives
will
500?
receive 500.
Because that would be crazy.
Yeah,
that'd be crazy. That's oh my gosh. We're pulling back. We're somehow making this a team sport now. Because I can imagine that, seeing American players go into the United Cup.
There's no
And
way.
then seeing American players, win one of the things and get a bunch of points, and just seeing all of the American players go up in the ranks as an American would be crazy.
And we have groups?
We have groups?
Yep.
All right, let's see.
So,
what do we got?
Team Greece will have Tsitsipas and Sakari. That's dangerous.
That is dangerous.
That's very dangerous. Świątek and Hurkacz will lead a number 2 seeded Poland.
Okay.
3rd seed will be the United States of America with Jesse Pegula and Taylor Fritz at the lead.
Okay.
Madison Keys and Tiafoe will be there as well.
Okay.
Rafa and Paulo Badosa will lead Team Spain. World number 16, Matteo Berrettini, Wimbledon finalist. And Roland Garros, either quarter or semifinalist, Martina Trevisan will help him lead Team Italy. France will round out the top 6 seeds with Caroline Garcia and Arthur Rinderknecht. That's interesting.
A choice.
So Australia's going to get led by Nick Kyrgios, Ayla Tomljanovic, and Alex de Minaur. Norway will be led by Casper Ruud. Germany led by Zverev, and Switzerland led by Belinda Bencic and Stan Wawrinka.
Okay.
Unfortunately, no Roger. Petra Kvitova will lead the Czech Republic, and So yeah, that's very interesting. So we have the actual full teams. So we have Greece, Poland. I'm very excited for this Polish team. If it wasn't obvious. We do have 2 Grand Slam champions on here in Świątek and Kuba, which is gonna be very fun to see. The U.S. surprised to not see Coco Gauff on here.
I was thinking that when you were reading the names off.
But you have Jessie Pegula, Madison Keys, and you have Desi Kravchuk, who made the semifinals of the doubles tour finals this year. On the men's side, Taylor Fritz, Francis Tiafoe, Dennis Kudla. Going to be very fun to watch that team in action. The men of Spain, strong as always, with Nadal, Carreño Busto, and Ramos Vinolas. And then the women's side led by a very strong year from Paula Badosa.
Yeah. But they don't have a fourth.
Italy not looking as strong as they did in past years. I remember the days of Sarah Rani and Roberta Vinci, Andrea Seppi, Fabio Fonini, Flavia Panetta.
He's such a goober.
But a very strong men's side with Berrettini and Musetti.
Where's Sinner?
That surprised me as well.
Where's Sinner? Where's he at?
And then you have France. France with some pretty strong men, but with France, you're led by 2 extremely strong women with Caroline Garcia and the seed killer herself, Elise Cornet.
Yeah. And I'd argue Manarino has had some good matches in his time. So we could see something from him.
Australia, an extremely strong 4 with the men. Jason Kubler, a standout at Wimbledon. A good run to the 4th round, if I'm not mistaken. John Peers, expert doubles player. And Kyrgios and Demon are both very good at doubles. I mean, Nick has a Grand Slam in doubles. And then you have Ayla Tomljanovic and the legend herself, Sam Stosur. Croatia makes the cut. Borna Coric, excited to see him play. Petra Martic, Donna Vekic, both really, really great players.
Cilic.
Yeah.
All right.
Switzerland led by Wawrinka and Bencic. Very strong, solid players on both sides with Hissler, Stricker, and Jill Teichmann.
Oisler has been putting up some good performances lately. Didn't he win his first title lately too?
I think so. I think you're right. Germany led by Zverev, and then I'd say tour vet Laura Siegemund. Joel Niemeyer had a good year as well. Annalena Friedsam has been also here for a long time. Oscar Adi and Daniel Altmaier, guys who are commonly underestimated and can come out of nowhere and put on a really great performance.
100%.
Brazil led by Thiago Monteiro. And Beatriz Haddad Maia, who's had a really, really awesome year. Luisa Stefani, a really awesome doubles player. Belgium, David Goffin and Elise Mertens, strong on both sides. Excited to see what Mertens can do because she's so good at doubles as well. If I'm not mistaken, she won the doubles tour finals with Veronika Kudermetova. Czech Republic, led by Kvitova. This team kind of worries me with how they could do. Lucas Rossol's there, but he was an amazing player. Hesitant on how he can do now. But that's going to be really interesting to watch that team because they've always been so strong. I remember Thomas Burdick and Barbora Stratova and all these really awesome players coming out of the Czech Republic. But I'm really interested to see what happens there. We have Great Britain led by rising Cam Norrie and Daniel Evans, which is going to be so fun to watch what he can do. Harriet Dart and Katie Swan, really, really great upcoming British players. Argentina,
Diego Schwartzman,
Sarundolo, Coria, all great players. And then Nadia Podoroska, who I believe Trevisan is the quarterfinalist who lost to Podoroska at the French Open 2 years ago in 2020. That's the year that Iga won her first Grand Slam, so that's why I remember it so vividly. And Norway,
Casper Ruud.
I'm going to take back what I said about the Czech Republic. This is the team I'm actually going to be very worried about.
It's Casper Ruud and company.
Let's talk about the numbers here, because all of these teams have, rankings in the top 100. And then there's Norway, who all except for Casper Ruud is 3 in the 300s, 759 and 1,264. This team's I'm worried for these guys. Casper Ruud's got some heavy lifting to do.
He does. I was thinking about that. I was like, what would a Team Norway look like? And it doesn't really look like much.
But now,
Casper.
keeping in mind what those teams are,
yes,
let's look at our groups for our group stage.
Ooh, wow, they have so much information.
So for Brisbane, you have Group B, Poland, Switzerland, and combined 6. I don't know. I don't think that's been completed.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be a potential of maybe there are countries that could make it in and maybe it's not official yet.
Perhaps.
I don't know if this is... Wait, Greece, Poland, USA, Spain, Italy, France, Australia, Croatia, Switzerland, Germany, that's 10. Brazil, Belgium, Czech Republic, Great Britain, Argentina, Norway. There are 2 more teams left up for grabs. One in the combined 6 group and one in the ATP 6 group. But whoever enters that last group, I'm going to be honest with you, call it biased. I think Poland will easily get out of that group. I fully call it biased, but we need to talk about this. Let's realize Iga Swiatek versus Belinda Bencic. I think it's really easy to say that Iga's going to come out of that on top.
Yeah.
On the men's side, you have Wawrinka versus Hurkacz. I think Hurkacz can most definitely come out with the win on that side.
Yeah, I think so.
And when you look at the doubles spectrum, I'm not 100% sure on how the matches are going to work, but you have really awesome doubles players on both the women's and men's side that could do some really heavy damage, and some really, really good backup singles players in Magda Linette and Kamil Majchrzak, which both have had some stellar results in the past, which you never know what they can do. I think the Poland comes out of Group B. Group E, Italy, Brazil, and Norway. That's a very interesting group.
Yeah, I see it. I see Italy.
I'm going to say Brazil. Italy, Berrettini, I don't have as much confidence right now with him. He could. But we need to keep in mind that then you have to put Martina Trevisan up against Beatriz Haddad-Maia, and I'm taking Haddad-Maia in that matchup.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
But that is a very even group in my opinion.
I mean, yeah.
Then you look on to Group, and these 2 groups are going to be in Perth. You have Greece, Belgium, and somebody from the ATP 6. This is going to be between Greece and Belgium. I don't know who's taking that last spot, but it's going to be very hard to compete with Greece and Belgium. I think it's going to be Greece.
Yeah.
When you look at how good their top players have done between Stefanos and Maria Sakkari, they've done really, really awesome this year. And I think if it does come down to those 2 singles matches, I think it's going to be Greece coming out of that group. But if we're talking about the more well-rounded team, I'm going to put it on Belgium. Zizou Bergs is a really great player, very underrated. David Goffin obviously has been a former top 10 player, has had some really great results. But you look at the women's side, and you look at Elise Mertens, Alison van Oudvank, and Kirsten Flipkens, and you have somebody that's really good in Elise Mertens, somebody very versatile, can play singles and doubles, and has had stellar results on both sides. So it's a toss-up for me, but if it does extend onto those doubles matches, I'm going to take Team Belgium.
Interesting. Okay. No, that's totally fair. I mean, I haven't heard of any of the Grecian players on their doubles team.
I mean, this name should not be new to you.
Oh, Petros Tsitsipas. Well, yeah, okay. I didn't notice Petros.
And Mikhail Pervolakis is also is also a really great player, but I don't have enough trust in him to beat the likes of, say, Zizou Bergs. I don't. But moving on, we have Group F: France, Croatia, Argentina.
Okay.
So France, led by Rinderknech Manarino and Caroline Garcia and Elise Cornet. Then we have Croatia and Argentina. Croatia, led by Borna Coric and Petra Martic and Donna Vekic. Argentina, led by Diego Schwartzman and Podoroska. Who are you taking out of this one?
Probably, I don't know. I want to say France, but I don't know.
I'm gonna take the French team on account of the strength of their women's side, and also we need to keep in mind there's this sneaky little name at the bottom, Edouard Roger Vasselin, one of the great doubles players of recent years.
Yeah.
I have trust in what Roger Vasselin and Garcia and Cornet can do. Rinderknecht and Manarino can come out and perform well, but they are also, in a way, inconsistent. So
they're
you
very
never know what you're going to
inconsistent.
get out of them.
Yeah, that's what I was.
And then we have the last two in Sydney. We have Group C, the United States, Germany, and the Czech Republic.
Okay.
Call it biased. I'm taking USA.
Well, we have so much like more top players going in than either.
For me, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say one word, and that word is depth. You look at our women, and there is so much depth there. Jessie Pegula, we know she can play singles. We know she can play doubles. Maybe she lost a lot this past week, but the thing is, it shows something that she even got there. You have to be really good to make those tour finals.
Yeah.
And I think the combo of Jessie Pegula and Desi Kravchuk on a doubles court could be really dangerous.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Fritz and Tiafoe, as well as Dennis Kudla, sneaky name up there. I think there's a lot of depth to the American team, and I think that's why I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I think it's for me USA then Czech Republic because like I don't know. I don't know how I feel.
It's fair.
About,
I mean, with the Germans, I'm gonna take the Germans in second. Just because I look at those top three female names: Siegemund, Niemeyer, Friedsam. I look at those top three men's names: Zverev, Otti, and Altmaier. I think they can put on some really good performances, and
I think
you
they
never know what you can
but
get out of there.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about even Zverev right now.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of trust in Zverev right now, but we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens.
But yeah, I think with the U.S., what's so crucial is that the top two on both the men's and women's side for us are all within the top 20, which is really cool to finally be able to say with confidence in said names. I can look at Taylor Fritz and Jessie Pegula and be confident in what they can do out on the court. In the past, we always had the Williams sisters, and on the men's side, we had just kind of a rotating kind of cycle of, dare I say, disappointment.
But you're talking about the ATP Cup.
I'm talking about John Isner. I'm talking about Marty Fish. I'm talking about. I was gonna say his name, but I don't. But I'm not going to. I was gonna say James Blake, but he's not disappointing. Okay. I don't want to sound high and mighty. I admire those guys and what they achieved, and
it's just
they
a change
are so
of
good.
pace because we have people more consistent.
But if we're being honest, exactly. When you want to talk about consistency, Taylor Fritz is about as consistent as we've seen since James Blake for American tennis. Dare I say? James Blake and Andy Roddick were the last times we had really, really, really consistent guys. There were stints where John Isner was consistent, but it was kind of like a roller coaster.
It really was.
But looking to Group D, the last group, Spain, Australia, and Great Britain.
Okay.
This one is really tough. What really surprised me is there's one big name missing on this team right here, and that's Carlos Alcaraz.
Yep. Injury.
I trust the Spanish men as well as Paula Badosa.
I really do.
I really like Rafa, Paula Carniabusa, and Paula Badosa. I have some expectations there, but we can never count out such a strong Australian team between Kyrgios, De Minaur, Jason Kubler, John Peers, Tom Lajanovic, Madison Inglis, and Sam Stosur. Of course, Zoe Hives as well, but I don't think we can count them out. I think it's a very well-rounded team.
Also, it's home turf for them, too.
Exactly. And we know how much the Australian crowd can really help them. And then for the British team, it's really hard. I think this is honestly, when in terms of competitiveness, this is the best group in my opinion that we've got.
This is just in terms of the fact that you're not 100% sure.
Yeah. I can't be.
Yeah.
With the other
fair.
teams, I had a level of I had a greater level of confidence in picking the winners of the other groups, and then I came to this one, and it's just because there's both sides are being spearheaded by somebody really, really strong. Nadal and Badosa. For Australia, Kyrgios and Tom Lajanovic, and then for the Brits, Cam Norrie and Harriet Dart. I think that's going to be a really hard group. But I'm going to pick Australia.
Yeah, I was gonna pick Australia too.
I'm going to pick Australia.
I
That for me is on a basis of I don't know how much depth is on the Spanish team in terms of doubles.
Really?
I would be excited to see any of those top 3 men get together between Nadal, Karagias, and Ramos Vinolas.
Yeah.
But I don't know the other Spanish female players as well, to really have too much trust in them. I've definitely heard of Nuria Paredes Diaz, but I just the Australian team just seems a bit more well-rounded to me. But I'm really excited to see where they go, and definitely excited to see what the other 2 countries. So sorry, countries that make the cut are gonna be. They get determined in about 2 weeks.
Yeah. So wait, tell me this: do all of these groups perform in these different locations at the same time, or?
I mean, yes, more or less. There's one stadium in each of these locations. It's the same way that the ATP Cup was. This is essentially the ATP Cup, just with the WTA included.
Which is great.
That's one thing that I really like, is that we're getting to see the women perform. But most importantly, in my opinion, I'm happy that they're getting points for this.
I know. I think it's going to incite greater competition, and we're going to kind of be able to see like season progress.
Like the ATP Cup was fun because you had countries and they were fighting for glory for their country, and that was all good and well and wonderful.
Does this count though for this year's
next
year's? Okay.
Next year's points, to my understanding.
Well, because
they kind of overlap.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking,
well,
but
the way the points
the
works
finals
on the tours
happen right now.
Well, yeah, but I will say, like, it was nice and wonderful to have countries fighting for their own like national glory. But the truth of the matter is that when you put points on the line, the stakes just get raised immediately.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because tennis, when it comes down to it, is an individualized sport, and I just think that that's a great incentive, but also in the end it'll make it more entertaining for fans and audiences, and I don't know. Maybe in the future, as this develops, it could sort of become like this crucial like starting point, right, for like a lot of key players, in the year. Like when next year, you're sitting down and you're thinking, okay, who's going to do really good next year? You're going to be like, well, we're going to look at the United Cup and we're going to see. Right, we're gonna see who's on the runway, who's taking off. Right, this early in this sort of point-driven team competition. I think that's gonna be an interesting, like sort of like starting ground looking forward for sort of the start of the season.
But here's what I'm going to say. Quick thing is that player participation is subject to change. So we said all these wonderful names, but we don't know 100% sure that they're going to play. These are just guys that have declared that they're going to be there. But there is a big name, in my opinion, missing, a big country that could have, qualified here. Let's see if Logan can figure it out. Let's look at the So Poland qualifies as your WTA 1. Iga Swiatek, obviously the number 1 player in the world on the women's side. But WTA 2 is Jessie Pegula, ranked 3rd in the world. Which means Ons Jabeur's Tunisia is not here.
That's true.
Where are they?
I don't know. Well, because she being, I guess as successful as she is, wouldn't that qualify?
Well, Ons Jabeur ranked number 2, so
I would think so.
They
let
standards,
Norway in.
Well, Casper Ruud is
Casper Ruud's 4.
Exactly. But by these standards here, she qualifies as the WTA 2, so I'm surprised to see Tunisia is not up on here. What's interesting to know also is that if Tunisia had gone to the United Cup, the Czech Republic would have been out of a spot, as they qualify as the WTA 6 with Kvitova at 16. WTA 5 had Maya at 15. WTA 4, Bencic at 12. There's a lot of missing countries here that I think technically could have gone. Also, it could also be on the combined rank potential. Nope. Whoops. but there are a decent amount of countries missing here. I don't want
Serbia's missing.
For just yeah. No, I think so, I think that's why there's still an ATP 6 left.
Mm-hmm. You think Serbia's going to be
because
ATP
it could be Novak. It could be Novak, Serbia, or
That's what I was thinking.
Because I mean, when you look at ATP 5 is Cam Norrie ranked 14th. Novak is higher than that. So it could be, which would be really interesting to see. But I don't know, there's a lot of countries, but in an attempt to not be controversial, we're gonna watch our words here, but Russia and Belarus are both missing here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Medvedev and Rublev in the top 10. Sabalenka in the top 10. Azarenka, the big name, missing as well from the Belarusian team. I don't know. It's interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see.
I feel like
why,
because I feel like that feels to me like something deliberate. I don't know, because those players are so especially prominent in the sport, you know.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens, but I'm really excited for this event. But like just generally, what do we think is the strongest team here? And we're not, based off of I mean, okay, let's start with based off of their top players and then based off of overall strength.
I think. Okay.
You know what I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna say USA because they have, I don't know, their doubles.
I'm gonna say the US for the overall team.
Yes.
I'm gonna say, but if we're looking at number one, I'm gonna put on my Poland. You're dang right.
You're Poland.
And I'm very proud to say that my two countries, like, of background are, like, in my opinion, the strongest. But I think when you look at the Polish team, you have a good 1 and 2 on both men's and women's side, and you have a good doubles player on both sides as well. We mentioned Iga's dominance. I think she could continue that here. We know how much she cares about representing her country. She did everything she could to play the Billie Jean King Cup, but what stopped her was the Tour Finals and the schedule overlap clash.
Mm-hmm.
But it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens, and I don't know. I'm really hopeful for this U.S. team. I am very hopeful.
Me too. I look at it and I'm like, wow.
If Taylor Fritz has a good run at the Tour Finals, I have a lot of hope. For these guys. Like. And there's some real confidence, and it's nice to see the continual growth of American tennis post Williams and Isner glory.
Yeah. Oh man, this is exciting, and like I'd argue that they're really good all around players too. You know, and those players.
Oh, I agree.
When at least I think of those players, I think that they have like this sort of like core quality that really drives their game.
Yeah.
But these players are very good all around, I think. So,
yeah.
I'm expecting huge things from the American team.
I definitely agree. But I think that's everything we have for this week.
I think it
when
is.
we come back next week, we'll have some results for you from our ATP Tour Finals. So we're really excited for that. Because you never know what's going to happen.
We don't know what's going to happen either.
But we leave you with that. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Goodbye.